Has it been a week already? Hello traveller, welcome back. I'm glad you decided to join me on my quest. I'm trying to get down the valley to the nearby river to find a group of masters of balance and along the way learn about the wisdom of the Yin-Yang. Now check this out, I printed this off. This is one of the oldest paintings of the Yin-Yang that we have. And it's striking to note that this same spiral is found in sunflowers, seashells, fierce hurricanes, and giant galaxies. So while this drawing is hundreds of years old, it's clear that nature itself supplied the design, which might suggest that this symbol can tell us about our nature and how we work. So last video we talked about the rhythmic interplay between interdependent and complementary forces yin and yang, but we didn't get to the dots. What do they mean and how could they help us find balance in our lives? Well, check this out. If we imagine a line drawn from the center of a circle to the edge, representing a configuration of a particular thing, event or moment in time, then no matter where you draw it, no matter when or where you are, there's always a bit of yin and yang going on. So if we look at the yin-yang that you're more familiar with now, we understand the meaning of the dots. Even when yang is at its strongest, there's always a bit of yin, and when yin is at its strongest, there is always a bit of yang.
The counterpart of crisis in Chinese is Wei Ji. Wei Ji, Wei literally means danger. Ji means opportunity. When we talk about a Wei Ji, that's roughly it's talk about something negative. But if you just ponder about this two character phrase, we found actually the Chinese ancient was very wise. They just tell people don't be too much desperate. If we observe the evolution of history, quite often awful happenings later push the whole history in a new way. So crisis in Chinese, Wei Ji, that is a good example of the yin-yang can change.
So there's always a bit of yin and yang going on somewhere, and we can use this understanding to make better decisions. So I know there's a colleague that you've feeling some tension with. Let's call him Gareth. And every time you're in a meeting and suggest something, Gareth criticizes, he nitpicks, and you think, damn Gareth, he just doesn't like me and he's undermining me on purpose. I surprise myself how quickly I can make judgments like this on basically no evidence. And I hope I'm not alone. I think human beings were quite good at judgments and catastrophizing. So why is this? Well, there's an abundant amount of information hitting our senses at any given moment. In order for our brains to function, it has to simplify the world, leave out information, see patterns that it's used to. And so this means that we can make judgments and do stuff, otherwise we'd be constantly overwhelmed and paralyzed. But it means that there is something we haven't accounted for, some information missing, and in the darkness, this is the yin, that hidden complexity we haven't accounted for. And so, with this understanding, we now have an actionable question, which is, what is the less obvious thing going on here? And that question should prompt our senses to reveal what was previously unseen. So back to Gareth. You now understand that Gareth is complicated. Maybe he's criticizing you because he doesn't understand what you do, or maybe he loves you. You don't know. So you go have a coffee with him, shine some light into Gareth, and sure enough, you find through a new understanding of each other, in the next meeting, he doesn't criticize you, and no conflict was required. The skillful navigation of life then is to account for this hidden yin or yang, to go find it and strengthen it. So we've reached the river No sign of the monkeys yet, but hopefully they're up the valley a bit. But since we're at the river, here's a question for you. So, why were the rivers collapsing in Yellowstone National Park? Is it A, there were too many badgers, B, human excavation, or 3, because the wolves had died? Yes, the answer is C, because the wolves had died, right? There's a fantastic video on YouTube showing what happened to Yellowstone National Park when the wolves were driven out. Back in the day, the wolves hunted the deer, and so the deer did not dare go down the mountainside to graze. But with those predators no longer about, the deer started grazing in the river valleys, and the deer would eat the young tree saplings that back in the day would grow into big trees that would support the riverbanks. And soon enough, without those trees, the riverbanks started collapsing. So you can't make this stuff up. Wolves shape rivers. And that's just one example of the immensely complex set of relationships that we live in, which we call existence. And so it may be that things that look chaotic and messy and wrong to us may be part of a greater harmony.
For example, our nature. The common people might see the universe, it's like a chaos. You see the grass, the tree, they don't very parallel like this way. The rivers are, not a straight line or not totally a round shape. A good word is they just grow naturally. But maybe those people cannot see its nature aspect. They just say, this is very rustic. We cannot find the general law about how nature should be like this. No matter how it changes, no matter how you might think it's developed irregularly, actually, it's just a harmonious union. Just like we see the Tai Chi, you see, okay, here we have the yang part, yin part, but please notice outer, there is a very beautiful round shape. This means our whole world, there's no matter how complicated change or it's the yin-yang change in general, it's a beautifully harmonious union. So this very much hint to us, the whole world, no matter how different the political idea is, no matter how different the social system is, we are on the same homestead.
Our perspective is so often in the thick of it that we don't look up to see that we're part of the bigger system. Our instincts are to fight our bad feelings, to minimize chaos and disruption, forgetting that they're a necessary part of life. The Yin-Yang shows us that we can't have light without darkness, happiness without sadness, and there is a paradoxical unity to it. It's all part of just what being is. And so if you are feeling confused about why something is happening to you, maybe bring the unity of the Yin-Yang to mind and decide to surrender the desire to control the uncontrollable, which is this complex world that we live in. And instead decide to accept the world as it is, and you'll find yourself more patient, forgiving and joyful right where you are. Hey, we found them. True masters of balance, aren't they? They put any yogi or Tai Chi master to shame. And you'll see that these monkeys, they do embody a lot of the principles we've talked about today. Rhythm. You don't see them watching monkey Netflix and waking up too late. No, they go to bed when the sun goes down. They pay attention to yin-yang pairings. You see, these monkeys are smart. They've positioned themselves next to the river and close to the road, and tourists will often come here and feed them. And that's because they know that yin and yang aren't evenly distributed. There are places where they can get food more easily. Smart stuff. And then the hidden yin. One of the monkeys' favorite activities to do is to de-lice each other and nitpick. And much like Gareth's nitpicking that we talked about earlier, see what I did there? There's more to the story. You might just think nitpicking is for hygiene, but in fact people who have studied monkeys found it's actually part of an incredibly complex set of relationships. You nitpick your friends and people you fancy and stuff like that. And then finally, they just live, they be in harmony. We as human beings, we have all these wonderful capabilities because we can think, but we often get really confused about why we're here or what we should be doing. Whereas monkeys, they just live, they just are. And whatever they do is part of that harmony, and yet we forget and we judge ourselves. We're talking about monkeys today, but these principles apply to any natural thing, and that's because the yin-yang is inspired by nature. And you and I, we are natural beings. We're not alien visitors on this planet. No, we come out of it. We are one part of the natural intelligence on this planet. So maybe take a walk and see how the birds and the trees also exhibit these principles. And perhaps that would give you confidence that these things, balance, harmony, are possible for you too. Thanks for watching. In my research for these two videos, I read a book by Robin Wong called Yin-Yang. It's fantastic. I've linked it down in the description below. If you want to learn more with Master Gu, you can become a student of his online wellness academy. It teaches Tai Chi, Qigong, Taoism, Yin-Yang theory, all these things designed to help you live long and live well. You can actually get free wellness tips from him delivered to your inbox, so click on the link down below to find out more about all of that good stuff. So thanks again for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you soon.